Welcome to another edition of Schmoedown Night in Canada. It is I, your friendly neighborhood soda, once again joined by my resident corruption shill, Daniel. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. Just been, relaxing and stuff. I got a new job that I start next week, so I'm kind of taking it easy and not pushing myself too much. Been watching some pretty exciting matches.
Yeah, we had some really, really great matches. It was an amazing semifinal week in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown Ultimate Schmoedown Teams Tournament. We had The Odd Couple versus Deception. And then in the second match, we had the Founding Fathers versus Final Exam. Now, those two matches could main event anywhere in the world.
Yeah, honestly, to get those two matches within a single week is like the most blessed we've been since we were getting 6 matches a week with 4 singles matches and a throwdown, which was wow, were we spoiled. But
we were spoiled, but Harloff, I'm pretty sure, was
these
trying to kill us.
Yeah, the intensity level of these matches is what I really enjoy.
Oh, yeah, for sure, especially in the Founding Fathers Final Exam match.
Some real rivalries going down between Jeff Snyder and Adam Collins, and then you got like Paulo Yama with both Dan and John. Like, very, very fun stuff.
Oh, for sure. A lot of new rivalries. Yeah, we might as well just hop right into the match. So, like I said earlier, the first one was The Odd Couple versus Deception. Why? I don't know why I couldn't think of their name again. Odd Couple versus Deception. Pretty much, we just this is taking place on the heels of Jeff Snyder versus Paulo Yama in the finals for the singles tournament, and so this was Jeff's chance to get his revenge on Oyama.
Not to mention, Adam Collins was one of the people that Jeff faced in that horror free-for-all, and Jeff, he just got a couple of questions he didn't know in one round, and while that's not a regulation match, it is still a loss to Adam Collins.
Yeah,
and I'm positive Jeff Snyder sees it that way.
Oh, for sure. So he's on his own.
As we get into this,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as we get into this, you can see like how intense everybody was. You've got everybody playing at top level. 2 7-point rounds, 2 perfect rounds. Collins and Andreyko go perfect. McKee and Snyder both miss 1 question each, and so it's a tie game most of the way through this game. It was a nail biter.
Oh, 100%, especially going into at the end of the second round, to see them completely destroy Spike Lee like that. Holy crap.
Yeah, I've got a little bracket right there, which we can get into the second round, because as I mentioned, first round it's 16-16. There's a stalemate. Odd Couple defers to their opponent for the second time in this tournament. And honestly, possibly the second time of their career, because the Odd Couple doesn't defer, and Jeff Snyder doesn't defer. They're like of the spin first mentality. And I thought it was very interesting that in the first match, I had a bunch of reasonings as to why you would do that. You put pressure on the new team. But Deception is only a new team in that these competitors are playing their first match together. Like, it's a new team, but it's a new team in the way the Lethal Weapons are. Like, even if you want to only look at Marisol's 2 matches in the MTS and not look at her other league matches, which you should, everyone should go back and find Marisol McKee's matches. She's an incredible player, and I cannot wait to see where That team probably isn't going to get to stay as one in the next season with the way that all of the keeping slots and all of that will fall into place. But whoever gets Lady Justice for a team's partner, if in fact we will have teams matches next year, is going to be blessed.
This is the match that actually won me over when it comes to her. You know what I mean? Like her persona, her as a character. This is the match that actually won me over.
Yeah, and I mean her play won me over in the Oyama match, and she lost that one. Like,
well, yeah, but also like just because Snyder the whole match was just trying to get in her face and stuff like that, and she was just handling it so coolly. Like she's been playing this game for years.
Yeah, but I have this in that second round. Deception rolls Spinner's Choice and chooses Spike Lee, and then I have just in brackets, I see you, Chance Ellison. Because I remember watching something where he said he sat everyone down in Corruption and made them like binge Spike Lee movies. It's a smart play. It's the Ben Bateman strategy of you take the brand new wheel slice, you study it to its fullest extent, you master it, you surprise everyone with it. But just as soon as I saw that, Spike Lee and Corruption, and I saw what Corruption has done with the Spike Lee slice this year, I was just like, okay, yeah, this has Chance Ellison's training written all over it, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, and one of the questions that came up in that round was about Chirac, which I'm pretty sure Jay Washington Summer was cheered because he was in that film.
Nice.
Excuse me.
And yeah, so as we mentioned before, 6 for 6, 12 points, amazing round. And then curiously, I wonder if Meryl Streep was the actress they were looking at.
Well, was there another actress on the board? Because I tried to look.
I'm not specifically sure because
I think Meryl Streep was the only one.
I was watching that on my phone and I could not see the wheels.
Well, when they said the actress or the director, I was looking, and the only one I saw was Meryl Streep.
Was there a second director, or why wouldn't they just use the actual names then? That seems odd.
I don't know.
But I thought it was.
We'll get to that in the next match. But what's with Swag's codes? Like, we'll get to that later. But
yeah, I do actually have some mentions of that. Yeah, Odd Couple of Spins, Meryl Streep, and also sticks with it. I saw this one coming. There were some decent, from what I can remember, and the couple I could see when it was happening. Like, there seemed like some decent chances for Odd Couple to pull the same thing they did in this slice, which is 6 for 6, 12 points, tie game going into round 3. We might as well have just skipped there, both in this episode and the match itself. And yeah, so like that was an interesting round too. Like Deception, you see those two types of teams players. It was clear Deception had studied the category together, and they were both assuming both of them knew, right? And whereas when you get to the Meryl Streep side, it seems like the Odd Couple is you're always checking with your partner, but depending on the movie, one of them had the right answer and one of them was a little bit perplexed, and it just seemed to it's like strengths complementing each other versus.
Yeah, and wasn't it this round where Snyder caught Andreyko stopped him from giving the wrong answer?
I think so. It might have been like specifically like kind of like the Grease thing, was he was just double checking, make sure it's not the sequel.
No. Andreyko said a totally different movie.
Maybe. Because I'm misremembering. I was thinking of the Mamma Mia question where Jeff like double checks with Andreyko and he's like, "It's Mamma Mia, here I go again," right? And he like double checks what the subtitle is, and Draco gives him the okay. But You are correct. There was a second question in there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because then Draco was about to give the answer. Snyder's like, no, that's not
Yeah.
it.
That does make sense though, because
Yeah.
Jeff's whole thing is he likes good movies. And
Yes, he
you know
does.
who is in an incredible number of good movies? Meryl
Streep.
fucking Streep. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's phenomenal, and most of the things she's, well, at this point, the only way you can get her is to be making a phenomenal movie, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And all they needed was a Ricky in the Flash question, and I'd have been happy.
And yeah, so we get to round 3. Obviously, Deception's going to answer their questions first. They have a single team's win to the Odd Couples had a championship.
Mm-hmm.
And McKee goes first on the Will Smith question, and Collins takes a spy. I'm just bringing them up together to see. You think that's the right answer? Would you flip those? Would you?
No, I would have stayed with what they did.
I do agree with that. I don't know if Marisol has a huge spy, like maybe she's the biggest spy film fan of all time, and in that Lethal Weapons match, she definitely knew answers that Adam Collins didn't. Again, pointing out that this was a very good team. I'm so upset that they don't get to continue playing together.
Yeah, it's unfortunate this is possibly the final time we see them because I really like their teamwork together. I really do.
Yeah. And Will's co-star in Enemy of the State, Gene Hackman.
I got this one wrong. For some reason I was thinking Changing Lanes with Ben Affleck. I don't know why. I knew Gene Hackman's in Enemy of the State.
That's the only reason I got this answer. Gene Hackman was the only other person I could remember from this film, and I was just like, I don't know, Gene Hackman, and it was right. I did get this next question, which is an very confusing question. We'll get into this challenge a little bit. And Draco, Disney. What holiday are the Mad Hatter and who else was it celebrating in Alice in Wonderland?
The Buck Hare.
Yes. See, I had 2 possible answers to this before I remembered the song. And then I was thinking Easter, right? They're both rabbits. And then I was like, no, it's Alice in Wonderland. It's not going to be Easter. It's going to be something dumb like Thanksgiving. I really thought Thanksgiving was going to be the right answer. Hell, this match released on Thanksgiving.
That's true.
It would have been great. But then I remembered the Unbirthday song, and I even had the same kind of like, is a birthday really a holiday though? And considering this is where I say the challenge should have been upheld. It was perfectly placed and the question thrown away because the Unbirthday song is not about a specific day. It is about all 364 days that are not a very specific day. And it's very much about everybody getting to celebrate their unbirthday together, because as long as it is not your birthday, it is your unbirthday. So that's not a holiday. That's 99.9% of the year.
I'm not gonna lie. I haven't watched Alice in Wonderland probably since I was a kid, so I don't remember anything from this movie.
See, I just have less years between now and when I was a kid. That's all.
Ouch! Oh, Dan with the age joke. Oh, ow. Well, back in my day, Sonny.
There was only one Alice movie.
Fuck yeah, and it was the silent film.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty decent movie, and I'm not one for old movies. But yes, new question. Curious note, they got their repeat back on that question, which
makes sense to me because the question was null and void.
Yeah. I wasn't seeing it coming, but when it was given, I was just like, oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, no, it made sense that they would have gotten it back for me.
Yeah. And then we roll into the new Disney question. Disney film series of animated scenes set to classical music pieces. And
That was way too easy.
I blanked on this one. I think I've seen Fantasia once, and like I kept basically I spent the whole 15 seconds laughing to myself, going like, "Isn't that every Disney movie?" Because
Yeah,
every
I got
musical
this one right
song
away.
they put out becomes, and then I was like, "No, it's classical, not classic." And
Sick,
then,
yeah. Yeah,
and then
I
yeah,
got this one because God, I can't tell you how many times Fantasia came up when I was in band in high school.
mm,
Right?
that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah. And I've
I
only this is another one I only saw the one time when I was a kid, but again, because it was I'm a band geek, yeah, it came up all the time.
mm. And then yeah, we get into Adam Collins answers a third round question. This is an interesting thing we don't see happen often.
No.
uh, Spy films. Who co-stars with Leo DiCaprio and Russell Crowe in Body of Lies? There was many more context clues, but I tried
Yeah.
to shorten it.
This one I didn't know, but I did know
Yeah,
the oh, it's in the next round. Never mind. I'll get to that one. I thought it
and
was in
yeah,
this game for some
like
reason.
I'm not even sure who Mark Strong is. So when they said it, I was
Okay.
like, yeah, I guess
You've
so.
seen Kingsman, right?
Oh yeah, he's this bald guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's the bald guy.
Yeah, and he's definitely played a villain in a couple of things that I've watched. I
Oh
can
yeah,
tell
no,
you
Mark
that for
Strong is a
sure.
great actor, and I know the movie doesn't get good reviews or whatever, but he was really good as Sinestro and Green Lantern, in my opinion.
He was Sinestro?
Yeah.
Huh. I have thoughts on Green Lantern. We should do a show on that one day because I don't think it's a bad movie, but I think it had a lot of good parts, but they really missed some steps.
I'll talk to you about that when we're off the air.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we get to Odd Couple answering their three, a sports film. What film chronicles the bribery scandal of the 1919 White Sox? And
Eight
I'm
men out,
sure
man.
I was going to say they very specifically had to say the 1919 White Sox because it's probably not the only White Sox bribery scandal. And if there was a second one, that's probably
Oh
also
no,
a baseball movie because they make
this
so
is
many baseball movies.
this is actually the original baseball scandal, and it is the only I'd say the only major scandal to involve the White Sox. Like I mean, there might have
Oh,
been sign stealing rumors of the '80s, but this is like the I have to send you an article on, or at least check out the movie, man. I highly recommend Eight Men Out. One of the better sports movies, one of the better drama movies. It is the whole story is quite the thing. I'll have to send you like the Wikipedia link or something.
yeah. Quick, completely tangential question though. Is there a Harold Ballard movie yet? Because there definitely should be one. Dude ran the Maple Leafs into the ground because he knew anyone
Yeah,
would pay to fill that building, even if he put out like 10 grand worth of salary.
no, there isn't yet, but that's one I think it'd be like the Don Cherry movies they did a couple years ago, where it would probably be for Canada only.
And honestly, they got to do it better than the Don Cherry one because I want
Yeah,
it to show how bad the dude was and not just. Although he does literally leave the Toronto Maple Leafs and buy the Miami something or other and run them into the ground. So
yeah,
there's a target audience that moves back and forth across
maybe,
our border.
maybe. Yeah, I never thought about a Harold Ballard movie because yeah, that man was a notorious stickler and a notorious asshole.
Yeah. Okay, so last question of the game. We got Deception 5 point Tom Cruise, who plays the character of Nora Christine in Far and Away. I I felt so bad for them here,
Me
and
too.
Mark Andreyko felt bad for them, and they correctly know that this is not going to be the top
Yeah,
billing, even though most 5 pointers recently have been giving numerous context clues, and this is just character name, year, movie name. It's not
which is
meant.
what it should be, and This is a movie that I really enjoy. It's underrated in my opinion.
Mm.
Fuck, Tom Cruise with an Irish accent, can't go wrong with that. And even I couldn't pull this answer.
Yeah, and like I mean, and Draco says it's like a 10-point question.
Oh yeah,
I looked it up. There's not a lot of women in that movie.
no.
There might be 3, I think.
Like
And
I could give like I could picture all the main women in that movie, but outside of Nicole Kidman, I couldn't give you a name.
yeah, and then yeah, Barbara Babcock was the answer. They just go with Nicole Kidman because when you're running out of time, you got to throw an answer out there. Kudos to them for trying, because
Yeah.
again, play the field, right? Maybe the writers assumed Far and Away was an obscure enough movie to ask for a top billing. We
Yeah,
have
okay.
had 5-pointers that ask for a top bill.
So I just looked up to see what this lady looks like, and yes, it was actually the actress I was thinking of. I just, for the life of me, couldn't pull her name because I knew also her from also Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
So you knew Nora, Christine from the movie, but you didn't know who was playing it.
I did know her name.
And yeah,
That's
tough.
Nicole Kidman's mom.
Yeah, tough loss. 33-30 after playing such a next to flawless game. I mean, you do gotta hit your 5 in those cases, because I have said it a lot and I will keep saying it, that in a teams match, the first round is most important because it has the most points.
Mm-hmm.
It has so many points in that first round in a teams match. In any other of the divisions, I defer to second round usually as being like the staple point of the game.
Yeah.
And singles is actually the third round because you only have 4 second round questions. It's not a huge field. It's only an 8-point swing. But when you're neck and neck in this kind of game, that 5-pointer is all that really matters, and it is just a random grab bag that nobody can plan for.
Yeah, the thing I've noticed is with the quality of talent we have nowadays, you have to be almost perfect to win.
And to be fair, like you don't have to be perfect. You just got to be better than the other team, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like at this point in the tournament, with like all like with people like Adam Collins, with people like Marisol McKee and what have you, you may not have to be perfect, but you got to be damn close.
Yeah, and specifically, you got to be damn close to perfect in that first round.
Yeah.
You can always get half the points in round 2 by checking down. You can always defer to your teammate on the category you don't know in the third round. But if you can't answer your end of those first round questions, you're going to tank your team because that's so many points. Every one you miss is a 3-point swing, potentially. Yeah. If you miss one and both your opponents hit it, that's a 3-point swing.
Yeah, and we'll see that in the next match.
Yes, we actually do. Although, because yes, we do see the 3-point swing take effect, but we also see it not matter.
Yeah, true.
So as we get into that, we have Final Exam versus the Founding Fathers.
Who'd you have going in?
Actually, let's get into that. Let's move back to the last match. Until Deception lost to the Odd Couple, my bracket in this team's tournament had been perfect.
Ooh.
I had the Witching Power. I had Final Exam facing Deception in the finals, and I had Deception beating the Odd Couple. My first round was flawless. I get into this one, and I picked Deception as like they're my favorite faction, and I knew that it was a strong team.
Yeah.
So when I was running into matches that I couldn't decide what the win spread would be, I would just defer to Deception because I wanted them to win, right?
Yeah, of course. And you're corruption shill, so of course.
I did also reach this sort of coin flip situation with Final Exam Founding Fathers, and basically just decided that I really want to see Lon Harris capture a championship already.
Yeah.
It's he's finally got the right partner, and this is where I'll stop being a huge shill, and I will actually talk about Corruption's main rival and how great they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I I really love Paulo Yama. As a player, he has like come into this league and made it challenging in a
Yeah.
way. Him and Brendan, I I don't understand why they know every movie from decades before they existed.
Hey, man, that's some
It is,
good watching.
and have you seen Paula Yama's watching? If I can't remember what that website is, but he actually
Oh, Letterbox? Yeah, his
updates it.
thing
Yeah,
is insane.
and he updates it live because
Yeah.
he kind of uses it as like an imposing figure in his like strength toolbox rather than a weakness, because yes, everyone can see what he's watching, what he's studying, but also you're seeing him watch 3 films a day sometimes, and it is wild.
I miss those days, my man. I miss those days. I used to do that when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, I've been definitely these days trying to get like I think I watch a movie every 4 days
Yeah.
maybe, and that's actually a lot of movies for me because I'm much more of a TV person.
Mm,
I like the long form storytelling and everything. That's
yeah.
why as a movie series, I would have to pick MCU as my favorite because it's a television show.
Yeah,
It's
you're not wrong there.
100%.
Yeah. And
They're
just before we get
episodic.
in, yeah, and just before we get into it, I also had Final Exam just because I think that the founding fathers weren't playing up to the hype this year. Like they're playing good, but it just wasn't working.
I'll say, I mean, I don't want to put it on one of them, but I do think it is one founding father is not playing up to what we think they should be.
Yeah,
Because,
I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want this man to kill me.
look, yes, it's hard to look good next to the greatest player of all time. And I would argue there are people having slightly better years than Dan Murrell,
Mhm.
but he has defended a belt twice. He has done it in convincing fashion
Yeah,
one time, and the other time he came from the like the biggest point differential ever. And so you can definitely see like as I was saying, you don't have to play the best. You just got to play better than the other guy across from you, and Dan Murrell does that better than anyone
yeah,
else in the league.
yeah. And he
He
proves that time and time again.
he seems to have the perfect like mind for setting himself against his opponent.
Mhm.
He knows what they're gonna try. He knows their tactics, and he seems to always pick the thing that's gonna get it done.
Mhm. Do
And
you,
this has meant no true offense to John Roca. He
no,
is
no,
a
no. Roka,
great player, and he has been having difficulty in his last couple of matches, but he has also played nobody outside of the top 5
yeah,
competitors,
for
right?
sure. And if Merle's won, then Roka's 1A. Like his legacy is cemented. He's Ric Flair.
I I do just have to have him third because there is and always will be a special place in my heart for Rachel.
Yeah.
And I mean, you ask most of the competitors, and they'll tell you Rachel Cushing is the best, most well-rounded, most knowledgeable player they've ever seen in the game.
Oh,
So
for
it's
sure, for
fair.
sure. Like, I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is like Merle is the greatest because of everything he's done. Roka is right there with him.
Mhm.
right?
And yes, I was arguing best, not greatest there.
Yeah.
Because
Well, it's the thing, like Wayne Gretzky is the greatest player of all time, but Mario Lemieux is the best because he's got the better all-around game.
Yeah, and I mean, I would argue that there are a couple of players that are better than that today.
Oh,
but
yeah, but Roka's got that legacy, right?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, on your hockey reference there, like,
yeah, no, for sure.
Best player of all time is somewhere between McKinnon, Crosby, and McDavid at this point.
Really? I don't know. I'd still throw Mario up there. If he had played, like, if he had actually played full season, his records would be close to Gretzky. Hell,
Like,
he's the only other person to come close to getting 200 points, and he did it with nobody on his team.
Yeah, and I will give him his credit because he was a very, very hardworking player as well. But you do have to acknowledge that, like, the best players of the 2000s would easily be the best players on their teams back then, but that doesn't necessarily.
And honestly, it's like comparing apples and oranges
Wayne
because
Gretzky?
the game was different before back in the 80s than it is now. I mean, if you look at the actual, like, the average goal count per game, it was insane back then.
Yeah. And, like, Wayne has said himself that, like, looking at Sidney Crosby and looking at McDavid,
for sure.
He's like, these kids are better than me. If they played then, they'd have 1,000 goals. Like,
no, 100%. And also, like, now they take, like, the training seriously and the training camp seriously. They come into training camp already in the best shape of their career. Yeah. Whereas back in the 80s and the 70s, they were, like, drinking beer, and most of them looked like me.
And yeah, you got a couple of players that, like, your Mario's, Richard worked incredibly hard all the time. But then you have a ton of players from that generation that sadly just kind of coasted on their skill and the fact that they had giant dudes who would protect them from being hit. Because Sidney Crosby takes hits. Wayne Gretzky didn't. That's one thing.
Wayne Gretzky took one hit, and that was the end of that.
Also, yeah, Sid doesn't take them too well either.
Yeah, but Lemieux didn't have that. Granted, Lemieux was also a big hoss himself, but he didn't have anybody protecting him, and that's one of the reasons why he retired in '97 was because he was tired of all the hacking and the hooking and.
Yeah. He's a more skilled Brad Marchand, that Lemieux.
That's a low blow to Lemieux.
Well,
Marchand's skilled. I get on that. I just hate his guts.
Yeah, Lemieux was a huge pest, but again, if you had Brad Marchand on your Vancouver Canucks, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, he's great."
Oh no, I'm like I said, I respect his ability. He is hands down one of the most skilled players in the league. I just hate his attitude. The way this, I just hate the uber. Like, I don't mind being a pest. I hate the uber pest.
All right, so back from our intermission here. Quick hockey intermission.
Yep.
Final exam versus the Founding Fathers. The new school versus the old school.
Oh, hold on. Before, take a look at the back of the jersey. His rookie jersey.
Yeah, it's curious that doesn't say Lemieux. No.
That's in my bedroom.
Okay, but possible title for this episode: New School versus Old School.
I don't know. I like the one I put on the for the link. Is this the Founding Fathers' final exam?
I can only see some of that. My link doesn't show the whole title, but yes, we got 3 perfect rounds in this game.
Oh yeah.
Oyama, Merle, Roca, Harris, Lon realizes, I think right after they call for pencils down. He knew he had the wrong answer, but I think in that moment he realized what the right one was.
Do you remember the question?
I cannot. I didn't think to write it down. Usually I would if there was only one missed question by one player, but we get that big 3-point swing, and Founding Fathers go up 18-16, and honestly, at this point, I wasn't even thinking about the outcome of the match anymore because I had already fallen into it, kind of.
Oh yeah, you were invested by the second round, for sure.
And which, speaking of, before this match, what movie was Dan referencing? I always blank on that. The pop quiz hotshot. That's how his promo starts. And I know that's a movie reference.
Yeah, I'm blanking too right now. Hold on.
And now I'm thinking maybe they should have taken movie quotes.
Speed.
So many of Dan's promos have those little Easter eggs in them. Now that I think about it, though, maybe they really might have swung movie quotes.
And is it me, or is Dan like secretly a great promo?
Honestly, he doesn't give himself anywhere near enough credit.
That opening promo was great, and fast jumping forward a little bit, his end promo was great.
And yeah, like I don't see why he and you'll have to bring me through the final promo because my internet was being wonky and I couldn't finish the interviews, but I did get through the match and got my notes out, and I was like, okay, I'm good enough to do the show now. So,
okay,
yeah. They also break from tradition in the second round. Oh, Founding Fathers 18, Final Exam 16. But rather than spinning second, the Founding Fathers decide to spin first, and that's the opposite of what they usually do. And this wheel wanted something in that corner.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like it was something like Spinner's movie quotes and then Eddie Murphy or something like that. And
didn't we get like three spins in a row or something where movie quotes was it?
Well,
it happened in Roka. Didn't it happen also again in
they
spin for Yoyama?
Yeah, both teams spun movie quotes and spun away from it. And then Final Exam landed on Spinner's Choice, and Founding Fathers landed on Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
And all of those were like the three wedges in one spot. It was very intense. Schmoedown. What? Sorry. So, Eddie Murphy, 4 of 6 questions. 7.
I think this was a good choice. Do you think it was? Well, I guess they wouldn't have had a choice anyways because I was going to ask. I think it was a good choice stand up, but no, it was their second spin.
Yeah, I think movie quotes was the right way to go. Honestly, if you were to name a couple of competitors who could list mixed bag as a strength, they aren't far apart, and one of them's Dan Murrell. Basically, as a movie reviewer and a critic and a lover of the space and the technical aspect and the acting aspect, and like Dan wanted to be a director, all of those things kind of combine to he has seen more movies than a lot of people have, and those little gap movies that tend to fall into that mixed bag, you know? And I think if anyone is gonna pull a mixed bag category like movie quotes, it's gonna be the Founding Fathers. You put those two like vast memories and knowledge of thousands of movies together, and I think it could have been a little better than what they got here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you said 4 for 6. They doubted themselves on the Harlem Nights question. And I Spy, while it's a forgettable movie, I knew it was Famke Janssen because I got the poster in my head for some reason.
I guessed Famke Janssen just based on their guess was Salma Hayek.
Yeah.
And I was
also at that time, Famke Janssen was hot because she did GoldenEye in '97, then she did X-Men, and so she was in demand.
But see, I wasn't even thinking of that. I was just like, oh, if you thought it was Salma Hayek, it's probably the other person with the less English name. And like the 3 pretty common names came up, and then the last one was Famke Janssen, and I was like, it must be that one, because in order to have the immediate thought of Salma Hayek, you're thinking of a non-traditional name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only reference point I went off. I haven't seen this movie, but I managed to get that one question right because I was like, oh.
Like I said, I haven't seen the movie either, but I remember the trailer. I remember seeing the poster and video update when I would go in when I was a kid.
And then they dropped 2 steals, one 1 point, one 2 point. Final Exam hits both of them, and they go to 19 before they start their spin, which, you might as well have just flipped the first round at this point.
Yeah,
because that's like 7 points for the Founding Fathers, but Final Exam is actually a point ahead of them, and now they only need to close a 6-point gap, which turns out was very, very easy for them to do.
Yeah, and they completely steamrolled that Audrey Hepburn category.
Yeah, at this point, it's not even a surprise. I've seen Oyama do it a few times, and at this point, I want to see him do Catherine. Like, come on.
No relation. Actually, yeah, I'm surprised we haven't done like any classic exhibition matches or anything like that, to be honest.
Yeah. Also, I believe both Hepburns are wheel slices. I'm not positive on that, but I believe Kathy was added as well.
Maybe. I don't remember that one, but I don't normally pay attention to the wheel per se.
Yeah, and I think Audrey might be a year or two old, and Catherine was added this year.
Okay.
But like I believe they now have both Hepburns. But yeah, Final Exam spins movie quotes, then they respin spinners, and then
I like what Winston said when they landed. It's like, come on, man, you really want us to get this one.
Yep. Well, I mean, nobody ever spins it, so they just have this question document for movie quotes that's been sitting in their PDF file since 2016 at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. The day they're going to open it, they're going to have to go and blow off all the dust.
At this point, someone's going to finally spin that, and then like the movie quote is going to be like, what film is the quote "there can only be one" from? And it's going to be like the top of the barrel because nobody has ever wanted it.
They're going to click the PDF file and be like,
yeah. And yeah, so they got some interesting codes in the second round. I'm not sure what the whole point of that is, other than I could see it if you're going first, but going second, I'm not really seeing a point in hiding from your opponent what you're nervous about or what you're not.
Yeah, it was really, really weird. It's like, guys, you're not playing baseball here.
I guess actually, say they decided to defer from their plan because clearly their plan was Audrey Hepburn, right?
Yeah.
And I really like this quote, like Lon saying like, I think we should go football reference or basketball reference.
That was funny. I mean, that was also in character and not in character, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And yeah, so I think if one of them had decided to switch off of that and go with something new, and then the other teammate wants to say, like, no, I'm uncomfortable with that, that's when you would tell, like, that's when you would be giving your opponent free information.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one reason that you use the code, because, yeah, if they had decided...
That's the only reason you use the code, pretty much.
Yeah. Say there was some other actor that Oyama saw and he decided, like, yeah, I've done a lot of Hepburn questions. Maybe I should look for something that I might get less deep cuts on. But then Lon was very uncomfortable with that category. That would put a lot of pressure on him to want to speak in a code, because you don't want to give your weaknesses up to your opponents right before the final of the teams tournament.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, they do very well. Let's say Lon Harris does very well in this second round, carries his whole team on his back.
Oh, yeah,
6 for 6 questions.
Oyama didn't even get a word in edgewise.
Oyama gets a lot of words in edgewise in this
Yeah, I
match.
know.
Actually, he was killing it because
For sure.
the founding fathers come back and they get told that final exam's at 30, and John Roca asks, "Hey Paul, what question did you miss? What did you have to go to multiple choice for?" And Paul Oyama answers the I Spy question that
Yeah,
John had to go multiple choice on, and I was just like, "Oh man,
that was a good one.
that cuts deep."
That was a good one. Oyama's got a pretty good trash game.
Yeah. And see, at this point of the match, I almost thought Founding Fathers were going to win. Because,
Really?
yeah, because you just put Dan into a 5-point deficit.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
worst place to have Dan Murrell.
Well, maybe not so much.
Yeah, well, it turns out they found a category of movies that Dan is not the GOAT in, and they're dance movies.
Oh man, I felt so bad for him. Like, there's no way he could have pulled that, but fuck, he took that hard. You could see it on his face the rest of for the rest of the video after that. He was
Yeah.
not happy.
Is it more of a bit part than I'm thinking?
It's the lead, the male lead.
Okay, yeah. So I don't think that's a terribly hard line question. Yeah, definitely the lead.
Yeah, but I mean, it's unless you're into dance movies or of a certain age, you wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah, unless you were a movie trivia competitor, because like I don't
Yeah,
know
but
much
everybody,
about.
dude, everyone's got their blind spots.
Yes, yes. I was pointing out like I don't know much about dance movies, but I know of the movie Save the Last Dance.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it because
I
I
I
was
confused
6
that one and Step
apparently.
Up because I said, oh, it's Channing Tatum, but then no,
Uh,
Channing Tatum would Step Up.
yeah, and yeah, because another thing is there have definitely been other Save the Last Dance questions.
Yeah,
That is one of the best ways to study for the movie Trivia Schmoedown is to watch the movie Trivia Schmoedown.
true.
The dance the Save the Last Dance movie has been asked about, and you can
Mhm.
almost guarantee if a question is brought up about a movie, there's 5 or 6 other ones somewhere in those documents.
Yeah, and most
So,
of those Save the Last Dance questions were asked in matches involving Brianna Chandler.
but it's the Remember the Titans effect. Like,
Oh yeah,
it's that movie that like the writers find something that isn't the biggest mainstream movie, but it's popular enough that they can write a wide swath of questions, and some people are going to get it easy, some people are going to have a very hard time, and some people will be able to guess these answers, and you just you end up with a couple of these movies that you can tell the writers just really like because it's just inside everybody's purview, but not necessarily like on your watch list.
yeah.
That's what I thought of that movie, and just a difficult question to get wrong in the moment because that requires the founding fathers to go right to their 5 before final exam has done anything, and that is very difficult.
Yeah,
But
she went
then they get a
dealing
young
with
guns
2-point
question.
advantage.
Then they get a young guns question, and I was like, okay, they have their 5. We're going to final exam. This isn't a TKO. Then it was just an actor in the young guns, and I was like, yeah, they're definitely gonna get this.
Yeah, Terrence Stamp, Zod.
Yeah. Friggin', I don't think Roka waited for the question to be done. Almost like he's like, I know this.
Funny thing though, just
Then
a little bit of historical trivia. The real John Tunstall was actually like closer to 30 than he was in the movie. The movie is an old man. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a Billy the Kid amateur historian.
Yeah, to be fair, in the historical context, 30 was an old man. You died of dysentery at 35, right? Like,
True.
Yeah, so we got horror for Lon, and he does kind of redeem himself from his second round against my buddy Adam the Coyote Collins, and yeah, Steve Freeling, whose family is haunted in Poltergeist. There's a remake of Poltergeist, right?
Yeah, there is. It's not completely well regarded. It's got Sam Rockwell in it. It's more toward of a comedic horror.
That's what I've seen. I've definitely seen that, and I kind of liked Sam Rockwell in that movie. I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but Sam Rockwell's great.
I haven't seen it, but if they're asking a horror question about Poltergeist, you'd know damn well it's gonna be the original, because the original at this point is a classic in the horror genre.
Yeah, but then that's the point as to why you would ask about the remake that no one particularly cares about one way or the other. But so yeah, Greg T. Nelson hits it pretty quickly.
This was a layup of a third pointer.
And it was just a 2.
Yeah.
The 3-pointer I actually kind of liked. Holly Hunter nominated for 2 Oscars.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, what's the other one? My bad.
Yeah, and I like this question because I've been so happy with how they play these Oscars questions in this season, particularly. None of them are just like, how many Oscars does this person have, or how many Oscars did this movie win? They're very nuanced and like truly require you to know the Oscars.
Yeah.
They've been quite interesting.
I didn't know that Holly Hunter was nominated for 2 that year. I knew she was nominated for The Piano. I didn't know she was nominated for The Firm.
Yeah, me neither. And again, Paulo Yama with the great comebacks and calling out The Firm.
Yeah.
And yeah, they hit that 5-pointer and win 35-32, and they're facing The Odd Couple in a 5-round tournament final.
God, I can't wait for that match.
That is going to be such a fun match. Another revenge tour for Jeff Snyder. Another rivalry for Paulo Yama.
Yeah.
And I had completely forgotten that the Harris brothers had taken out The Odd Couple. Like,
yeah,
I had completely blanked that was the team, and so that's another revenge tour for Jeff Snyder.
It feels like such a long time ago.
You
know what I mean? It was only 2 years ago.
Yeah, but it was also in the before times, so it was a decade ago as well.
Of course.
And lastly, because I'm going to save the other thing probably for next week's show, since we'll only be covering one match, the tournament final.
Oh, is this what you were referring to showing me earlier before the taping?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're almost at an hour here.
Exactly. That's what I was talking about. We're a little less than that. The last point I have here is that the Finstock Exchange has been eliminated from contention for the faction award. Honestly, they didn't have much of a shot to begin with.
No.
They're at 50 now, and I think with the two tournament matches, they could have got to 56. Then if they collected both of the title matches, they would tie Corruption. And because Corruption is at 66 right now. That means you need Dan to beat Collins and you need Chandru to beat Chance, or Finstock would never have won. But now that they don't even have those tournament matches, they cannot possibly pull the 6 points.
Yeah,
Swag, on the other hand, does have that chance. And that is what I will describe next week if everybody watching tunes in. And in order to know when the next episode comes out, you should definitely like our channel and subscribe to it. And maybe even head over to Facebook and the Schmoedown fan page, Schmoes of the North, where we post every single week when we have a new episode that you guys can watch. And you know, we have many other shows that you can take part in our Northern consultations, several other things. You do something. What's your show, Soda?
Oh, I didn't realize we were actually ending the show. So you could, like Dan said, you could find me here on Northern Consultations and Schmoes of the North, but I've also got another YouTube channel with some friends of mine called Get Sweaty, where we've got several shows. We've got Soul Talk, where Soul sits there and just talks to people about, what they've read, what they've watched, what they listened to in the last little while. Ben Rayner and I started a new show called Recapping the Past, where we're going to be recapping all of Saved by the Bell, excluding the college years, the new class, and we're going to rank the seasons, and then we're going to go on to, I think, Friends after that, and we're going to keep going. We also have Shooting the Breeze, where me and him just sit down with somebody for an hour and just talk about whatever. And Jordan's show Blind Spots, which is pretty much he watches a movie he's never seen before. He brings on a guest and they just talk about it for about half an hour. And then the main one, Gets Sweaty, where we break down a top 5 list every week of just whatever. What was our last one? It was top 5 movies based on books was last week. And then this week we're doing top 5 funniest performances by a comedian in the movie.
Oof. Wow.
Yeah. Some of these lists are thinkers.
Here's a question. Are those top 5 performances by comedians, or is it comedic performances by comedians?
Well, it was originally proposed as top 5 funniest performances, but Jordan was the guy, because every week somebody else picks a topic, and Jordan was like, but it can be, it can be a performance, it can be from a comedian, whatever. So I'm just doing it as funniest performances by a comedian. It's just going to be easier for me that way.
But it is specifically comedy, because I would be interested in like the top five like real roles done by comedians.
Oh, for sure.
Occasionally they move over and play that dramatic role so well that I'd be quite interested in that. If you
oh, for sure. You got Robin Williams and all his great serious performances. I'm personally a fan of Jim Carrey in The Majestic. Billy Crystal is the lead in Forget Paris.
Yeah. And one last thing before we take off, though, because we didn't talk about it. Odd Couple or Final Exam? Who's facing Shazam? And do they have a shot?
See, this is going to be a tough match because you've got the Odd Couple who are hungry to regain their glory, and you've got Final Exam who want the glory. So, goddamn, it's because I want to see Lon finally get a title. I'm going to go Final Exam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Final Exam too. I do believe in the Jeff Snyder revenge tour, but I do think that this one isn't quite the blood in his mouth type of revenge.
Yeah.
Like I don't really feel like Jeff Snyder was ever knocked down by Oyama.
Oh God, no.
Even though
the only time he was ever knocked down was against McQueenie.
Yeah, and like even though he did lose that match, and I meant knocked down by like take a hard loss, right?
Oh yeah.
Both of their matches were so close that like it's hard to say one of them beat the other.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Probably, I want to say probably his hardest loss probably was against Harloff a couple years ago on Harloff's revenge tour. Because remember that was a number 1 contender match.
Oh yeah, Jeff has almost made that mountaintop a few times.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's who I'm going for. So yeah, Daniel, where can they find? We've already said where they can find us video-wise, but where else can everybody find you?
Yeah, just on our Facebook page, which I plugged before, Schmoes of the North, a Schmoedown fan page, and on Twitter at Avengers_SOTN. That's Schmoes of the North, and that's pretty much it. I'm around on all the social medias and commenting around, so you can find me there.
And since I already said everywhere else you can find me visually, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at soda_the_saxman. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Surprised actually we went an hour. We don't, but this is a good episode. Yeah. So thank you very much for
a few things to say. Just as the things were coming up, there was quite a lot to just unpack and discuss. Even though
that's what happens when you have 2 great matches like this.
Yeah. and 4 great teams. Like,
Yeah.
you can't even say anyone played bad. So we had to talk about everyone, right?
Yeah, no, it was a gratifying great week. So thank you everyone for joining us for this hour. As always, like Daniel said, like, subscribe to the channel, join us over on Facebook. So thank you very much, everyone. Have yourselves a good evening, and we will see you next week.
Cheers.